Hello, today we are writing algebraic equations. Again, this time writing problems that have to do with multiplication and division. Our first problem is about super francs. The first example, it says 6 friends go to super francs. The total for all 6 people is $48. How much does it cost per person? Missing the question mark there. Again, the first thing we want to do is try to paraphrase the question. We know that 6 people went all together and that their cost is $48 total. So to paraphrase, 6 times the cost per person should equal $48. Remember we talked about when we talked about rates that it's usually the number of items times the unit rate equals the total cost, and this is one of those situations. Number of items times the unit rate equals the total cost. Our next step is going to be to define the variable. Again, not always, but oftentimes we're going to be defining a variable to answer the question. In this case, we are going to define our variable for our unknown, which is the cost per person. I chose C as my variable, so C equals the cost per person to get into super francs. And now I just need to write an equation. Based on my paraphrase, writing the equation should be pretty easy. $6 times the cost per person, which we're now saying is C, will equal $48. Here I have my equation written. Now I just need to solve it. First thing I'm going to do is draw my dashed line down from my equal sign to remind myself anything I do to the left side of the equation, I must also do to the right side of the equation. I have 6c, which we know is 6 times c. The inverse of multiplying by 6 is going to be to divide by 6. So I'm going to take my 6c, I'm going to divide both sides of my equation by 6. 6 over 6 is, of course, 1. I get c equals 8. Again, I want to make sure that I'm answering my question in a complete sentence, making sure I'm actually answering the question that was asked. The question says, how much is the cost per person? I know now that C equals 8. C is the cost per person, so I can write a sentence. The cost per person to get into super francs is $8. You want to make sure you're including the units when necessary, so dollars. The next question we're going to do talks about Mr. Dalby's pencils. For those of you who don't know Mr. Dalby, this is him. He teaches right now 8th grade algebra and geometry, so you might have him in the future. The question says, an anonymous philanthropist donated pencils to the math department, and the department decided to divide them evenly to each of their 7 teachers. Mr. Dalby was given 15 pencils, and he wants to know how many the department got all together. So first we're going to paraphrase the question. Now we're going to leave out some of this information. Anonymous philanthropist, that's too wordy. We don't need to include that. This is all I'm writing for my paraphrase. We know that there was a total number of pencils donated, which is right here. It was divided by 7 math teachers, right here. And if Mr. Dalby got 15 pencils, then supposedly all of the teachers, each teacher got 15 pencils. So here's our paraphrase. Total pencils given, divided by 7 math teachers equals 15 pencils per teacher. Now we need to define our variable. Again, you can choose any letter, but I chose P to equal the number of pencils donated. This situation didn't really give a question, but the unknown is how many pencils were given altogether by the philanthropist. So that's what we're going to find out. That's what Mr. Dalby was looking to find out here. Now that we've defined our variable, it's really easy to write our equation from the paraphrase. So we said that our total pencils given divided by 7 equaled 15 pencils per teacher. So to write our equation, it's now just going to be P divided by 7 equals 15 pencils per teacher. 15 pencils per teacher, or 15. We're going to use our inverse operations. It says P divided by 7. The inverse of dividing by 7 is to multiply by 7. If we multiply the left side of the equation, we also have to make sure we multiply the right side of the equation. Remember, when you're multiplying by 7, that's the same as multiplying by 7 over 1. 7 over 7 is 1. We get P equals 105. And now we just need to make sure we are answering the question in a sentence. The philanthropist donated 105 pencils to the math department. And we're done.